Hey guys, welcome back to the Friday vlog where we discuss activity that goes on here with the BuzWeaver channel, current events, headlines that are in the news, technology, social media, and items of interest that come up during the week that allow us to have a little bit of a dialogue. So the vlog was kind of created for us to be able to have discussions that are going on in the social media community and events going on around our world, because just having just the gaming channel is totally fine, but we're moving in a direction in social media, we're moving in a direction within society that I think allows for an opportunity for us to be able to have a little bit of discussion to bring some normalcy, some understanding, to kind of dissect the complexity of what goes on in everyday life. So I want to welcome all you guys here if this is your first time to the channel, to understand kind of the format that has been established here. And if this is your first time to the channel, I'd like to welcome you and encourage all of you guys to click on that watermark down there in the bottom right hand corner so you can continue to get the Friday vlogs and other content that is covered here on the channel. This week in gaming, we're going to be shifting gears to a particular topic, although it does fall within the gaming realm, and that is this week on Twitter, we saw the trending topic Thot audit. Now you may be asking yourself, well, what is a thought? A thought means that hoe over there. Now, how does that have to do with gaming? Well, several years ago on Twitch, if you're not familiar with Twitch, it is a streaming platform where a community of gamers mostly go on and play their games and live stream there. They do commentary and D&D and all sorts of gaming related activity. So what was happening a few years ago was these particular girls, cam girls and such, were going onto the platform to kind of promote and advertise their sites, their third-party sites outside of Twitch, which irritated a lot of the gaming community because they want authenticity. They want to see actual gamers playing actual games and participating in the community, contributing to the community by providing gaming streaming. So what's happened here this week was that two particular individuals were pursuing these particular Thot girls and saying that, and involving the community and reporting them to the IRS. Now, this is the time period that we're living in right now, where individuals who have a mobile phone, who have a tablet, who have a PC, are going on the internet to espouse their ideologies, their philosophies, and their worldviews to a captive audience. Now, of course, in everyday life, people can just kind of do their own thing and stay away from particular controversies or particular individuals that are trying to promote ideologies, philosophies, and any sort of thing that people may not be interested in. But on the internet, of course, it is a captive audience. And so that's why we see some of these smaller voices coming onto the platform to inject themselves into communities of people to be able to promote their ideologies and philosophies. Now, I'm not directing that at the Thot individuals or the cam girls or individuals in particular, or even the incels. Now, you may be asking, what is an incel? An incel means involuntary celibate or involuntarily celibate individuals. And so you have kind of a clash of emotional and psychological activity going on here where these incels are intimidated or provoked or annoyed by the activity of these particular cam girls. Now, in my personal opinion, if you're a grown human being and an adult, you should be able to engage in whatever activities you like, provided it is legal and not harming anyone. But nonetheless, what these particular incel individuals were trying to do was they were trying to generate attention to these particular females and report them to the IRS. Now, that is the society that we're living in today in the internet community, where bands of people work together to try to deplatform and try to shut people down, censor, suspend, so forth and so on. And I just kind of want to bring this to you now because we're now seeing this even within aspects of the gaming community, as we talked about in Battlefield 5. But nonetheless, this week you may have seen that term trending, or you may have heard about it going on. But nonetheless, reporting someone to the IRS is not a frivolous, nebulous, innocuous matter where you simply say, hey, person over here is doing this, this person over here is doing that, because the IRS requires very specific information, detailed, not speculation, not rumors, not hearsay. They need actual tangible information, which you would really have to really be involved with this particular individual, company, or business. And the reason they make it difficult is so that CPAs and other disgruntled individuals from businesses and companies can't simply report a business or a company or an individual because they're irritated and annoyed by them, because that's what the the internet is for, right? The internet is where people bring drama and other activity to be able to excise or bring out or emote, right, through the internet. So basically what happened is, before I get too off topic, is that these particular individuals were trying to get the community to go after cam girls or sex workers or individuals who work in these environments where they come onto Twitch or they have their own platforms and Snapchat and things where they can engage in their private business with male clients if they want to. But the incels, of course, were upset, irritated, and annoyed that these girls were using their feminine qualities, using aspects and attributes of them being females to promote themselves and generate business. Look, we know that sex sells. We know that sex has been used in advertising for years and years and years. This is nothing new. But here we have groups of individuals using the internet to promote an ideology, to promote a philosophy, to promote a worldview, to target certain individual groups of individual people. And we'll go more into this targeting and new terms and new terminology that you guys may not have heard of. So that's what a thought is. That's what an incel is. That's what happened during the week with this silly little audit. It is not easy simply to report someone to IRS, but can we think of a party that might be pursuing someone as it regards the IRS? All right, guys, so this week on Twitter, we saw another introduction to a term and a ideology that is being introduced into the Twitter policy called DeadNaming. Now, if you're not familiar with that term or you are not familiar with this new policy here on Twitter, it essentially is there to protect the trans community. Now, when I go into these topics, I'm doing it to be descriptive and to give you detail. I am not trying to target individuals or use this platform to go after individuals and tell you guys to make this decision or have this opinion or have that thought. I am simply providing this for a sense of dialogue for us to be able to discuss these particular issues, because I work within social media and I see this happening every day. And as you know, this was my gaming channel. This is where for me to review products, for me to be able to share things with you like a friend, like I would share things with a friend. This is what the channel is about, is me sharing things to you like you were a personal friend of mine, because my presentations revolve around that. The things I talk about revolve around things that I talk about with family and friends and other individuals. And you guys are that audience that I want to treat in that manner, in that way, in a dignified conversation that we can discuss these particular controversial topics perhaps. But nonetheless, this week on Twitter, they introduced DeadNaming. Now, what is DeadNaming? Okay, this essentially refers to you addressing, talking about, or referring to a person to their previous gender, to their previous name, to their previous occupation, or some aspect to them in their past that they are now transitioning from into the new individual that they are today. Now, you may have noticed on the thumbnail that particular individual that I'm referring to, Caitlynjenner. Now, here's the thing. This particular individual did something incredibly remarkable in 1976 by winning the gold medal in the Olympics. And this was an extraordinary event. Now, is it derisive? Am I decrying? Am I insulting? Am I offending this individual by remarking about a past event that this person did and an extraordinary, amazing accomplishment? Now, here's the thing, guys. There is this perception sometimes on the internet, and we see this kind of in a way with all the censorship and all the deplatforming and stuff, is that we have groups of individuals, right, that want to create a particular narrative, a particular mindset to where, let's just say that everything on the internet has to be serious. Everything on the internet has to be real. Everything on the internet has to be factual. It has to fall within the basis of being credible, tangible information, substantive, so everyone can understand it, everyone can appreciate it, everyone can value it, and by no means can any information be presented that could insult, that could offend, that could disturb, that could disrupt, that could incentivize people, to incite them to violence and things of that nature. So basically what we have here is a narrowing down of ideology, a narrowing down of philosophy, where only certain groups of people can be able to say what they want to say, because someone out there with a tablet, with a mobile phone, with a PC, might espouse an idea or a philosophy that could offend someone. And so you are not allowed to talk about certain things because your intentions, your motivation, your desire to share things could be seen as offensive. You know, because you might be motivated like these incels. You might be motivated like certain political groups to engage in divisive activity that's going to disrupt and create drama on the internet. So guys, the thing here is Twitter introduced this new policy into their format, onto their platform. So if you refer to someone like this individual who I just mentioned, Caitlynjenner, to their past, to what they did, it's possible you could get censored, it's possible you could get suspended, it's possible that you could get banned. And you know, last week we talked about what Jack Dorsey, the owner of Twitter, did by holding up the bromantic patriarchy sign that he had in the picture, and Twitter was trying to play it off as, oh, this was a private moment, this was a situation that was suited for this particular context, and it wasn't there to promote or advocate for the insulting of the caste system there in India. And so you see, why is it that the tech giants can get away with this kinds of things? Why do they hide behind Article 230? Why do they have this? Because when, like we talked about last week, when you try to introduce your own values into a system, there's going to be a time where you're going to violate your own standards. There's going to be a time where you're going to do something that someone's going to see and say, hey, see, you've just offended me, or you just offended this group, or you just engaged in hate speech. So you can kind of see how this ever-changing, nebulous, innocuous, constant shifting of words, constant shifting of ideas. And this is what promoted me really to do these kinds of videos, because I wanted to bring this to the attention of people so that they could be aware that, you know, we're living, look, life in the world is not complicated. People are complicated because people have ideas and thoughts, emotions, precepts, passions, things about their nature that they want to share, that they want to introduce, that they want to create an environment for themselves where they're comfortable. And so that's where we're at now. But the problem is no human being could possibly remember, can possibly know all this information every single day to go about their lives, not offending someone, not saying something that's going to disturb somebody. And that's where we are on the internet. That's where we are now today. Unfortunately, in this hypersensitive, hyperbolic environment where it's identity politics, where it's culture war, where it's ideology, philosophy, worldview war is continually going on. Back to the topic. Twitter introduced this dead naming policy now so that you cannot say something that could potentially upset a trans person. I totally get it. I totally understand. I'm a grown human being, like I said earlier. I totally understand that these individuals have chosen this lifestyle. I don't object to them. I don't object to their ideology or their philosophy. I'm just saying this is the incident that we see ourselves in today. And these individuals, of course, like anyone else, want to be protected. But as we have talked about before, you know, we can't have private rights for this person, private rights for that person, rights for this individual, rights for this particular company, rights for this particular business, rights for this particular ideology and philosophy. It's going to collapse on itself. It's going to create an eggshell mentality to where no one is going to be afraid to say anything. And we can't live in an environment like that. That is exactly why these Fridays vlogs are being created, because we are becoming a controlled environment to where people can't even express themselves without there being some type of offense to it. We've got to move out of this mindset. So this week, Twitter introduced this policy. I don't know whether or not there's going to be some kind of warning if you say something about someone, because you can talk about topics like we're doing right now without trying to offend or without trying to upset people, because it's detailed information that takes place in everyday life that we need to talk about. So that's what happened this week on Twitter. Dominating the headlines this week, we have both the immigration situation going on in Tijuana and into the United States, but equally as important and concerning is what is going on between Crimea and Russia there at the Strait of Kerch. Now, Crimea sits just below the Ukraine in the Black Sea, separated by that small little strip of water, which is the Kerch Strait, which goes into the Azov Bay, I believe is the bay there in Russia. And essentially what happened was 3 Ukrainian vessels or going through the strait. Now, they are supposed to alert and signal the Russians that they are coming through for obvious reasons, just like the immigrants have to make people aware that they're coming into the United States and give their reason. So these particular warships that are passing through the strait have to signal the Russians to let them know what their intentions are as they're going through there. And what happened was the Ukrainian vessels went into the strait, failed to signal, failed to inform, failed to radio, failed to do anything to inform the Russians as to their intentions and their reasons for being there. The Russians acted, ran into one of the ships and disabled it, and then captured all 3 of the vessels and the 24 sailors that were on each of those particular vessels. Now, is because there has been a continuing escalation between Russia and Crimea, or more specifically areas within Crimea who are pro-Russian and kind of welcomed the invasion, is what it was back in 2014, that they call an incursion. And then Russia annexing some of these areas. And although some of the people there were pro-Russian, the idea here is that there are individuals who aren't, and so these individuals are called separatists. And there have been kind of clashes and kind of fighting back and forth that have been going on. And it's really kind of hard to judge the severity and the seriousness of this that's going on right now, because it seems more like it's more of a posturing and tug of war that's going on, although there has been some casualties and some other things that have happened. Now, as it comes to these 24 sailors, there was no injuries. I did hear that one of the Russian vessels did fire a weapon. Now, that could have been more in regards to a warning shot to warn these particular vessels, but we throughout the years, the Russians being very provocative, posturing a great deal. They fly over American ships. They fly next to American planes when Americans are just conducting their normal everyday kind of business in those regions and in those areas of the world. The Russians kind of just want to stick their thumb out there and say, hello, here we are. You know, what are you going to do about it? Whatnot and whatnot. So they're just kind of just being very antagonistic towards not only the United States, but countries as well. But nonetheless, so the reason kind of touches on a particular subject of mine is because I know someone who visits the Ukraine often, and I have, so I have kind of firsthand accounts from hearing what has been going on there. Now, this individual has shared information, articles, blogs, and videos for me outlining that, people within Crimea are welcoming of the Russians there and so forth, and the annexing and so forth and so on. But, thoughts on Brexit, my thoughts on these types of events, because as an American, I believe in the sovereignty and individual freedoms of individuals to pursue and protect their nations and their countries and so forth and so on. But nonetheless, martial law was the word I was looking for. Yeah, don't normally have to do a cut at it, but nonetheless, I had to do that there. So the president and the Ukrainians have installed martial law and have suggested that the Russians are now preparing to invade their country and military action could ensue. So this is a very serious matter that's going on here, because if we go back to 1991, we go to 2014, and now we go today. At what level do the Americans get involved with this? Because as we can see here, I haven't heard any official wording from the Ukrainian government asking for assistance from the United States. And the thing that could really spark this off is it wouldn't just be Russia and the Ukraine and maybe the United States, but China is going to be involved as well, because they have particular interests. They are pretty much buddies with the Russians, and this has gone back for many years. So I'm very curious to see what's going to go on in that region, but I did want to bring that up because it's very important that we discuss and have a discussion about that particular area, because that could spark off something very serious. All right, guys, so that's going to wrap it up for this Friday vlog. We had a little bit of a short issue there with the microphone, so I thank you for your patience for getting through that. And remember, guys, thank you for your likes, shares, and comments. And if you haven't already, guys, make sure you click on that channel icon you see appearing right there on the screen to subscribe, along with clicking that notification bell so you guys will know when the next Friday vlog is available, along with additional content that's here on the channel. And I will see you guys next Friday.